how do we fix Nigeria? Because whether we like it or not, May 29th, there's going to be an inauguration. And regardless of the fact that Peter Obi has gone to the Election Petition Tribunal, the case can go on for as much as 180 days maximum. That's what's provided for by law. So that's 6 months. And while the case is ongoing, the president-elect would have been sworn in by May 29th, right? So what should Nigerians do? Because things are hard already as it is. And it is looking like things are going to get a little harder. Because right now, they are telling us that fuel subsidy is going to be removed from June this year, which is just like the next 2 or 3 days after the swearing in. And Tinubu did not hide it. During the campaign trail, he made it clear that no matter the protest, he was going to remove fuel subsidy. He made it clear. Right now, one pure water is selling for 30 naira. They sell it 2 for 15 naira right now. So by the time they remove fuel subsidy, the stakeholders in the oil industry are saying that Nigerians should get ready to pay 750 naira per liter for petrol. All right?
When we have crude oil.
This is going to be on top of the already hard conditions of living. How do we move forward? Toyosi.
It's a very difficult question. Because even me, I'm asking myself this question, that how do we move forward? Honestly, I really don't know. I don't know. I don't know how we're going to move forward from this, honestly. I don't know.
Okay, Mary, let's get to you very quickly.
On the question.
Yes.
I have always made my opinion known on Nigerian economy. Nigeria is not poor. Nigeria is not poor. It's just that since 1958 that we discovered crude oil in commercial quantity in Olobiri, the old river state, we abandoned all viable alternatives. 60% of arable land in the whole world, 60%, is domiciled in Africa, dominantly in Nigeria. Ajokuta is there. We see what South Korea is doing because of their steel. Our gold is there untapped. Now, coming back to having that arable land, other countries like even America are surviving on GMOs, genetically modified organisms, and we know the health implications of GMOs because they can alter the body system when you consume fruits. But right here, you don't need fertilizers to grow crops in Nigeria. That is the truth. If coming back to summarize my answer to your question, moving forward is diversification. The unemployment indices that is skyrocketing today, once you industrialize this country, graduates will have something to do. So diversification, I hope you know that 2 or 3 days ago, the European countries agreed that by 2035, they will phase out 95% of combustion engines. So this crude and more crude will be narrowed down to aviation and other light equipment, maybe tractors and farm equipment and all that. In other words, it's not going to be business as usual. Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Good. You can see me now. This house is running. They just restored power a few minutes ago. It was running on solar. Countries like Germany is going green. So if we diversify, the effect of that subsidy will not be much. remember that we can't be contradicting ourselves at the same time. We have said that this subsidy has been pampered for too long. Let's know where these irrational expenditures are coming from. It's just that it's happening at a time because of the Russian war and everything. The inflation, because of our dollar exchange, has become something unbearable. Yes, we have to admit that. Now, it brings us back to another option. Having a single refinery, when I mean single refinery, I'm referring to the Dangote refinery. If we can have two other additional refineries, it means that while we, even if we remove the subsidy, if we can refine what we consume in Nigeria, the pressure on our foreign exchange will drop. Because once the pressure on the foreign exchange drops, it means that other things we consume, the prices will drop. The reason we are feeling this impact is that as we are going to be buying that fuel for 700 and something naira, we are also buying toothpick very expensive. We are buying every other thing quite expensive because we have been importing and consuming. So let me summarize my answer by telling you that the next government must be committed to productive diversification of sources of income.
Okay, I think you froze there. In case, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I think. Okay, yeah. All right. So diversification. Toyosi, let me come to you very quickly. All right. I will
Okay.
ask two questions and then we'll just end this stream in another 5 minutes. So very, very
All right.
quickly, I want to ask just to follow up on the subsidy question, right? What is the subsidy about? Because on the campaign trail, you have had an article say that it's going to remove subsidy.
Mm,
Tinubu said it's going to remove subsidy. And then even
mm,
Peter Obi said it's going to remove subsidy.
mm.
But the Labour Party has responded to say that, well, we don't know what you're talking about when you say you want to remove subsidy, but any subsidy removal that will mean that the price of fuel will go above what it is now. We will reject it. That's the position of Labour. All right. So, and Peter Obi is saying that the subsidy is a scam, similar to what Buhari said before 2015, that subsidy is a scam. Is there really a subsidy? And if there is, where is the subsidy? And is it possible for us to have subsidy removal without increasing the price of petrol? So you see.
I think if I understand my understanding about fuel subsidy removal, I think it has to do with you removing the cost of production, exporting the fuel, that's the crude oil now, outside Nigeria for it to be refined, and then when it's being brought back or imported back to Nigeria, you pay for the cost of, I think, transportation and all, right? And then so the first subsidy removal has to do with the cost of exporting, the cost of importing. You remove it there, and then you will now minus it from the, I think, the fuel price, right? Before selling it out to the people.
Okay, so
Am I correct?
invariably, you as
Yeah,
an average Nigerian do not
yeah.
have a thorough concept, a thorough understanding of what a subsidy is.
Honestly, that's it. Because I think I've asked so many persons and they don't even understand what this first subsidy means. But I think when I research it, it's about the, when you have your crude oil in Nigeria, you export it, the money you pay, you put it aside. And when they refine it, the cost of refining, you put it aside. And when you import it back to Nigeria, the cost of importation, you put it aside. And then, so you have to plus everything. And when you plus it, you add it to the fuel price. And then that's why you now sell it to Nigeria. And then you now talk about fuel subsidy. You now like selling it at an increased price to Nigeria, right? I think that was what I understand from what I read that day.
Let's hold that your definition of fuel subsidy. Let's come to Iberi. Iberi,
Okay.
You are the CEO of Lifeline 24. Give us a lifeline here. What is fuel subsidy?
In simple terms, it's assumed that the cost of fuel per liter should be higher than what we are presently paying the actual cost of it. So the subsidy is that because we take our unrefined crude and refine it abroad, while bringing the same fuel, the government is paying part of the cost of that fuel to bring down the price for citizens to pay. I give you another example. At the teaching hospitals, drugs are subsidized. So if an antibiotics is selling for 1,000 naira at the general pharmacy, the federal government will pay 700 naira and they expect patients to pay 300 naira. So you are actually paying 300 naira for that drugs, but the actual cost is 700 naira, but the government has paid that money. Now, the problem with the fuel subsidy here, why everybody is insisting remove it, is because number one, up to today, nobody is giving us the definite volume of fuel we consume daily or monthly to determine exactly the actual truthful amount you are paying out in subsidy. So the subsidy becomes something like Toyosi said. Many people do not understand the concept. So if I must repeat that again, the federal government is saying that the fuel, if we have been buying fuel at 195, they are saying no, 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 no. The cost of that fuel is actually 195. We have been paying part of that money for the citizens. So this time around, we will make the citizens pay for the actual cost of that fuel so that nobody will get any rebate anywhere to say, hey, hey, I imported 10 million liters of fuel last month and this is part of the payment as subsidy, pay me. That is just what it's all about.
Wow.
Okay, very nice, very interesting. Let me give you my own concept of this whole subsidy thing. In a nutshell, the subsidy thing is a scam. Subsidy is a lie. I'll tell you why. They are doing your concept, by the way, the concept that you explained about subsidy, Ebere, you are 100% correct, right? Subsidy is money that government pays on certain goods and services so that the price can become lower for the citizenry.
Okay.
You understand? That's subsidy. But let's look at the petroleum industry. Nigeria has 4 refineries. 4 refineries that were working at 30% in 2015 when Goodluck Jonathan was president. 30%. And at that time, we were paying subsidy of about 200 billion. And Nigerians were screaming that the subsidy is too high. 200 billion. Now, Buhari took over, became president, and then 8 years down the line, our refineries have gone down from 30% refining capacity to 0% refining capacity. 0. Right? And these same refineries have staff that are being paid on a monthly basis. These same refineries, we have spent 4.5 billion US dollars for turnaround maintenance on these refineries in the past 3 to 4 years. 4.5 billion US dollars. Right? Now, we say that the refineries are not refining anything, which is a lie. But let's agree for the sake of argument that the refineries are not refining anything. So all the fuel that Nigeria consumes is coming from abroad, from countries like Belgium and the Netherlands. They are the ones refining our fuel. Now, we have an arrangement with these countries for what they call direct sales, direct purchase. direct sales, direct purchase. Now, this direct sales, direct purchase simply means that we will sell you crude oil in the amount of fuel that we need. I don't know if you understand. We will sell you crude oil in the amount of refined petrol that we need. That is direct sales, direct purchase. Meaning that if we sell you $1 billion worth of crude oil, you will give us $1 billion worth of refined petroleum. Now, this crude oil leaves Nigeria on the platform of Shell. Shell is the is the owner of the major distribution platform in Nigeria, Shell. Every crude oil that goes out must go through the Shell platform. So they have 100% control of how fuel leaves Nigeria, crude oil leaves Nigeria, and fuel comes back into Nigeria. Now, all we just need to do is tell Shell, your platform is what is being used to take fuel out of crude oil out of Nigeria. We are doing direct sales, direct purchase, right? So all they just need to do is we give you $1 billion worth of crude oil, give us $1 billion worth of refined petroleum, and whatever it will cost you to transport the oil to, which you would have paid us for, and whatever it will cost us to import the oil from, which would have cost us, let's cancel it, and we will pay you, Shell, by way of the number of barrels of fuel, crude oil. We'll pay you in crude oil. So that way, we don't need to pay a single dime for the fuel that comes into Nigeria. We don't. But now they say that they are paying fuel subsidy. The question is, who are they paying the fuel subsidy to? Are they paying the fuel subsidy to the transport companies that are bringing in the fuel? Or are they paying the fuel subsidies to the major oil marketers? Because don't forget that NNPC is solely in charge of importing. So this cost of transportation and landing costs that they're talking about is being borne by NNPC, which could have been paid for in crude oil in the direct sales, direct purchase deal, which in other words is called oil swap. So why pay major oil marketers, the likes of them, what's this man now? What's this man's name? This Dangote's friend.
Rano.
No, not Rano.
Rano.
No. This is Otedola's son. Otedola's son now. Otedola, Femi Otedola.
Yes.
The likes of Femi Otedola are the ones that were paying subsidy to. I hope you know. Otedola and the other major oil marketers are the ones that we are paying subsidy to. Now, when we say we are paying subsidy to them, what are we paying the subsidy for? Because we are doing direct sales, direct purchase. So are we paying Otedola for the cost of importing the fuel, which we could have also paid for in crude oil since Shell is in charge? What are we paying for exactly? That's why I'm telling you that the fuel subsidy itself is a scam. It's a regime that was put in place to benefit some people. The people, the likes of them, Femi Otedola and the likes of them, Dangote, who are the front runners. And these people are just money placeholders for people like the powerful politicians who own the money behind. So when you say subsidy,
that really explains why people don't know the meaning, because it's not transparent enough.
They make it look like it's one hidden thing. There's nothing hidden about it. There is no subsidy. And you know the problem with that? They now tell you that Nigeria is consuming 170 million liters of fuel per day.
Exactly. And it might not be up to that.
It is not, because Nigeria is the same population with Pakistan. This is what Peter Obi keeps saying. Pakistan has a population of 200.
This conviction, Oh, yeah, peace. With these conventions and figures, how come nobody has taken it up with a legal defense for explanation to insist? Because you seem to be so convinced that it doesn't exist. So why do we all
It
believe
doesn't.
it does?
That's
Good.
because people don't know about it.
Exactly. People don't know about it. And I'm glad that we talked about it like this. I believe that we should do another session. I don't know when you guys are going to be chanced. Let's do another session where you go and do your research on the fuel subsidy. You do your research on the fuel subsidy, and let's come and then we'll talk about it some more so that we can enlighten Nigerians. And then we can also come up with the appropriate steps that we need to take. Look, let me tell you something. This whole fuel subsidy thing, the reason why they are pushing for it now is two. One, to support Dangote refineries. That's why they are pushing it for it now. Because think about it. You are saying that we're paying subsidy because we're importing fuel. If Dangote was refining the fuel locally, would we still be importing fuel?
At all.
Would we need to pay subsidy? We
There's
won't.
no need.
But if they did that, Dangote refinery would not be maximizing profits for its shareholders. Do you understand? And part of the shareholders are some of these powerful politicians and some foreign and international companies.
Yes.
So to maximize the profit, that's why they want to take off this fuel subsidy, quote and unquote, so they can increase the price of fuel so that the likes of Dangote refineries can maximize their profits. That's all. Nothing more, nothing less. And then the second one is foreign companies can now come into Nigeria, spend their dollars to buy over the infrastructure of refining. They make it look like, oh, our refineries are not working. Oh, government cannot be in the business of refining oil. It's a lie. Look at our media.
But they were doing it before. What happened
Funny
then?
enough, look at our media companies. Our media companies, look at NTA. If you want to rank media organizations in Nigeria, you probably will rank NTA list. You will consider the likes of channels, consider the likes of Arise.
Of course, definitely.
Before NTA. But you know the funny, all of these TV stations were trained by NTA. Their owners left NTA to come and start. Undukom Baigbena, the chairman of Arise News, was formerly working with NTA. John Momo, the owner of Channels News, was formerly working with NTA. The managing director of TVC, we all know is owned by Tinubu, right? But the managing director of TVC, this man, I've forgotten this pastor, I can't remember his name. He also was a former staff of NTA. And the same thing goes for the radio stations. So they give a dog a bad name to hang it. NTA can as well be the best TV stations in Nigeria if they are allowed to do their work. But no, they sabotage it, and then they now come out and say, we want to set up a private enterprise. And the same people who were in the NTA are now the ones running it in the private sector. That's what they are doing with our refineries. Our refineries are working, but they are deliberately sabotaged so that they can give licenses to private individuals who will now buy over. Atiku was talking about selling it. Sell it to who? These foreign nationals that are his friends and some locals that are their friends. So they can take over state capture. For me, state capture. That's what they want to do. And when they take over these industries, then they will now begin to increase prices the way they desire.
They like.
The way they like. Forget all this talk about market forces. There's no market forces anywhere. They are going to meet amongst themselves and they are going to determine prices.
Wow.
They are going to determine prices. They are not going to bring down the prices because, look, fuel subsidy is a scam. And I want to stand with Labour on this. If Labour has the guts to explain this to Nigeria. Labour says, take your fuel subsidy out if you want, but let us not see increase in price of fuel. We can take out this fuel subsidy. From what I've just explained now, the fuel subsidy can be removed It just simply means that those people who are posing as oil marketers, pretending to be importing crude fuel into Nigeria, will just be told to pack their bags and go. And then those who are refining within Nigeria can refine, and then we can continue with our direct sales, direct purchase, or the oil swap deal that we have with the Netherlands and with Holland. You understand? So with this, oil subsidy is